just to give you a sense, we gave you the summer. So this is only from June 1st to August 19th. This summer, we did worked with probation and dismissed students, but we did 6,985 student ed plans in that short period of time. And it was because of the combined efforts of everybody in student services working to get those students in there so that they get those. And we did test over 4,000 students. So when we gave you the slides, we did not know how much money we were getting, even though our report is due to the state this Friday. However, we did find out last Friday how much money we're getting in SSSP, and we're getting $3,487,000. So we'll be able to build our program. We know that some students are falling through the cracks. Also, especially for Anne Marie, the district match now is only 1.3 to 1. It's not 2 to 1. That means just showing how the district is matching the funds. So that's a relief. I think we'll be able to handle that. Yes, and your leadership has helped on that immensely at the state level, understanding what we're doing in SSSP. So our budget allocations are focused on salaries and being able to support the different efforts in the SSSP, on materials and supplies, and also on equipment. So that's kind of in a nutshell what we've been doing in the past year, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Moss now.
Dr. Mackay, before you go,
I'm
what was the amount that you cited earlier?
Okay, so we're getting, I'll give you the exact amount, $3,487,115. And I have to tell you, and we need to...
That's instead of the 2.5 million?
Yeah, we got 2.5 million last year. So this year we're getting $3,487,000. And I've got to tell you, it's from a joint effort that we got that, because it is based on ed plans that you do. And if ITTS didn't work with us to get those ed plans documented, we wouldn't be getting that amount of money. So any other questions on that? Okay, I'll turn it over.
Good evening. I'm going to share just briefly a few highlights of the 2015-16 SSSP year, and so I'm just going to focus a little bit on our orientation, assessment, and some of the counseling services. So we have offered online orientation for about the last 8 years, and we've now implemented face-to-face orientations. And so we took a brief survey of students in some of our counseling classes, and they indicated that they prefer high-touch services. And so we're incorporating a lot more face-to-face orientations to serve our students. As far as assessment goes, we continue to provide online our assessment using AccuPlacer. But what's coming down the pike for the state of California, as many of you may already know, is the Common Assessment. And so they will have pilot schools beginning the assessment phase in the spring. And so we are looking to bring the Common Assessment to Long Beach City College about 2017. So we have a ways to go before they work out all of the bugs. And finally, in counseling, thank you. Okay, one more, thank you. And so, as you all know, we are required to provide new students with at least a 1 semester or a 2 semester ed plan. We are looking forward to offering more comprehensive ed plans to our students, and what we are doing for 2015-16 is we're incorporating continuing student workshops. They mirror the new student workshops, but we're focusing on those students who have been enrolled for a while, who have not declared a major, or who do not have an ed plan on file. And so we're working with the counseling department to offer these workshops to ensure that all students have ed plans. And I believe that's my portion. Any questions? Thank you.
Yeah. President Otto?
Yes.
Yeah, a quick question on the assessment. If you can pull up that slide, it says that alternative assessments are accepted. Can you go into further detail about that?
Sure. So we accept high school transcripts and last math class and English class. And we look at those grades and we determine how successful a student would be in college level courses here. And so we work in conjunction with our English and math faculty.
How's our transferability when they're transferring from a different college? Do we accept those or do we ask them to? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I also had a question. You mentioned high touch.
Yes.
What does that mean?
As opposed to more technical online services, we're providing face-to-face services so that students can ask questions in person.
All right, great. Thank you.
Just to follow up on that, a lot of students do well with the online services, and they know exactly kind of what to do, and it's very clear for them. Other students need that additional kind of follow-up, and those are the students that are a little bit more high-touch that perform better when served in a face-to-face forum. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Mackay for the last piece on follow-up.
So one of our a big focus for this upcoming year is student follow-up for at-risk students. At any one time, we have more than 4,000 students on probation. And so we've tried a variety of techniques in working with the students, but this year we're hoping to do more face-to-face interventions with the students. I teach a class, and my class said what we need to do is have them meet with the counselor once a week. But I don't think we've got enough staff for that. But we're looking at how we can get to those at-risk students at an earlier point, and also looking at an early alert tool that the state will be introducing, so we wouldn't need to be purchasing the early alert. But that's what something that we're trying to do with the student follow-up. And then new also are career interventions with workshops for undeclared students and classroom presentations. And then we do have courses that result in student ed plans, and so we're trying to beef that up so that more students are getting those. And for the wrap-up, I will give this over to Noel.
All right, so next steps. So all of our kind of initiatives, processes are incorporated into the planning process. So we just submitted a counseling department plan recently. Our school plans will be due in about 2 weeks. That'll then go into the vice president's plan. At the VP level planning, there's a group of staff, faculty, managers that come together to review different resource requests, look at funding streams, and make some recommendations there. But also, it's important to note the input that we get in SSSP from all of our constituency groups. So we've presented to forums such as Academic Senate, counseling, enrollment services, student input in different courses, bless you, in different courses. We also are under the umbrella of the Student Success Committee. So with the Student Success Committee, they're overseeing a lot of the major planning that happens at the institution, ranging from student equity, student success and support plan. So there's a lot of different inputs that get incorporated into it and make some recommendations, and based on need, are able to then make some recommendations on funding as well. Promise Pathways is another one that's under there. And questions?
I have a few questions, President Otto.
Sure, Trustee Zia.
Great job. This is wonderful. Thank you for this wonderful presentation. So going back to your, I believe it's the slide with the funding, the 2014 that Dr. Mackay was mentioning.
Mhm.
So this year's was roughly 3.5 million.
About
That's-
3.5 million.
Yeah, and the district match, if I heard correctly, is 1.3 to 1. Is that right? Okay. So where's the money going to go for both these buckets, and how is it going to be allocated?
That's a great question. So we got the allocation on Friday, and the plans are due this Friday. So we have the opportunity to do an extension, which we probably will, just to solidify the funding for this piece. The augmentation or the addition of $1 million came from the services delivered, right? So we weren't necessarily anticipating as much as we got, and I don't think other districts did as well. They based 80% of our funding based on FTES, the remaining based on services delivered, so those core services. Institution of this size and the number of services that we did deliver, most of which we got credit for in the comprehensive student educational plans, which took them that long to kind of calculate, and it's not perfect. They're still refining. So we'll be putting together a budget plan that will incorporate staffing to help support and deliver these services. The important thing is we can't spend any of this money outside of these 4 core services. So we have to spend in delivering assessments, orientations, counseling or educational planning, and follow-up services. So we'll be looking at those 4 services to spend the money.
So earlier this evening, we heard that we have faculty are feeling unsafe at times, or within recent crisis that has been happening, or shootings, or mental health counseling, or those particular areas that we're going to be looking at allocating money.
Gosh, we would love to spend money in any area, but unfortunately, we're mandated to spend in these 4 core services. So
wouldn't that be counseling?
The mental health counseling is outside of the educational planning realm.
I see. Okay.
So we have to focus on educational planning.
I see.
And then we have to write the justification on how these positions are incorporated into delivering these core services.
Okay, and then the president, they have stats, I guess, that is kind of similar to what we have with our scorecard in the student success scorecard, but I believe they have the added component, and the White House has the added component of monitoring job placement and careers. Is that something that we will be looking at as part of the Triple SP plan, the student success plan, or perhaps it's a question for our institutional effectiveness? Will we be monitoring the impact of our the success of our students in their careers and jobs, the market?
Right, that's a good question. And I think, as President Oakley said, every one of these presentations is a part of the bigger kind of student success agenda or strategy. So I think that information is certainly something that we want and we plan to track. We do have our institutional effectiveness helping us work on that. But also with Triple SP, we are funding a percentage of the career pathways and student support director that will be specifically addressing creating pathways for students, including job placement, internships, which we will be tracking in order for our documentation.
If I can further expand on Noel's answer, this is an issue for the entire state of California. We do not have the data system currently to be able to track students into employment, so we're having to create those program by program. Some programs that actually have certification requirements, we're better able to track students, and we're doing that tracking. So for example, an easy one to consider would be nursing, the associate's degree for nursing. Students complete a course, a program, and then there's testing involved, and then we're working directly with the employers. In those situations, we have much better ability to track students. It's the other programs where students come in and out of our programs that we are still struggling to figure out how to track. And as a state, we're trying to figure out what is the right solution to be able to integrate data between our systems, EDD, and other employment databases so that we can do a better job of that. So I think you'll see more and more movement over the next couple of years in terms of how we do a better job of that.
Trustee Archuleta.
Thank you. Congratulations on doing an outstanding job. I saw the allocations, and I also saw the numbers that were submitted through MIS, so congratulations on that. But I just wanted to ask you a question related to early alert, and we know in terms of follow-up, and I heard that you said we have about 4,000 students that are on, is
Probation.
that academic probation, or does that include both academic and progress probation?
It's both inclusive. Those are all our students on probation, either academic or progress.
And are these students on probation 1 or probation 2?
So that number encompasses all students that are on probation. So it would be probation 1, so their first semester, or probation 2, 2 semesters on probation.
All right, because I know probation 2 are the ones that we need to be concerned with,
Yeah.
given the loss of early registration date. And then more importantly now, and this is my question, with the new BOG waiver eligibility criteria, what steps have been taken to inform students of the potential loss, especially for those that are on probation 2? What steps have been taken to notify students of the potential loss of the BOG waiver?
That's a great question. I know Enrollment Services is working on incorporating that information into the financial aid workshops, financial aid reinstatements, extensions, as well as when we are working with students addressing some of the financial aid reinstatements, educational planning. And there is email communication that gets sent out to students, making them aware of the potential loss of certain resources as a result of continuing on being probation or being dismissed, and also satisfactory academic progress.
Okay.
So there is communication that is going, and we're working collaboratively with them.
Okay. Thank you. And not for today, of course, but I think for maybe a future report, if we could maybe learn a little bit about what you're doing in terms of the intervention strategies, starting with early alert. I know you're exploring that now, and I would totally encourage you to pursue early alert. But if we could maybe receive some information on your intervention strategies.
Absolutely, we'd love to, and we're doing some really cool stuff.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great.
Good job.
Trustee Baxter.
Yes, my question is, of those 4,000 people on probation, Trustee Zia and I have a special interest in homeless students. What would you say the percentage of people on probation, the reason they're on probation is because of homelessness or instability in their habitat?
That's a good question. I'll turn that one to Dr. Mackay if you can address it.
The way I could address it right now is I'm currently reading all the students who were dismissed and are trying to get readmitted, and I'd say at least 10% or more have been homeless during their time here, and that's part of the reason that they ended up being dismissed from the college. So it's hard to get at that number, because a lot of our students are never going to let you know, unless you know them really well, that they're homeless.
Right.
But I'd say the ones that I'm reading right now would probably be about 10%, or it could be more than that, but just a ballpark figure.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for a very, very good presentation about another aspect of student success, the counseling part of it, the student services part of student success. It's a very important part of what it is that we're doing. So there's one more part of talking about student success tonight, and that is that Trustee Archuleta and I and Vice President Peterson and Student Trustee Lamelli all went to a conference in Grossmont, Cuyamaca Community College District at the Grossmont Community College, and we'd like to report to you what it is that we did there and what we're doing as a result of having gone there, because it was directly related to student success and what we do. So, Alejandro?
Thank you. So a lot of key phrases here, student success being one of them. So on September 24th and the 25th, Vice President Greg Peterson, Trustees Irma Archuleta and Doug Otto and myself attended the ACCT, which stands for Association for Community College Trustees. Attended the Governance Institute for Student Success at Grossmont Community College, Grossmont Cuyamaca College in El Cajon, and that's in San Diego County, so it was kind of a far drive. So there were 9 California community colleges present. It was Allen Hancock, Chabot Los Pasitos, College of the, I'm going to butcher this, Siskiyous. Oh, thank you. So Grossmont Cuyamaca. So Grossmont Cuyamaca, Merced, Miracosta, Solana, and Southwestern Community College Districts, as well as Long Beach City College. So at the end of the conference, it was a 2-day conference, each community college district was asked to come up with an action plan, which it promised to implement upon return to their specific districts. The Long Beach Community College District agreed to the following 4-point action plan. The first one being to create a standing Board of Trustee agenda item on student success. If you guys have seen that, almost every agenda item right now is about student success, and that it encourages a database discussion. The second one being to improve the Long Beach City College student success scorecard results. The third one being to develop a Board of Trustees professional development program aimed at asking appropriate student success questions based on data gathered by the Office of Institutional Effectiveness. And the last one being to participate in the district's strategic plan by examining LBCC and other core student success best practices. So those 3 best practices were reducing remediation, which we covered a lot today, implementing targeted supports, and then developing structured pathways to help out those students. So when these 4 points were decided upon as the path the board would regularly pursue to monitor student success, there was a discussion on the importance of follow-up. So in other words, determining what each of the promised pathways cohorts were achieving and what the touch points and results were of those touches. So it was generally acknowledged that it will not be enough to assist students in each cohort with a better tailored placement in classes and the development of an educational plan if the results of these decisions are not followed up. So we are definitely looking forward to implementing more programs for student success and making sure we are following up in that process as well. So it was a great conference. We were really excited to be there. I'm sure Doug Otto has a couple words as well.
Seems to me I do. But I'll be brief. So just to put this in context, Long Beach City College has been involved in student success efforts virtually forever, but I'm only going to take you back to 2009 when we participated in a program foundation funded called CLASS. Superintendent, president, and a trustee went to for 2 conferences a year for 2 years for a total of 2 years, total 4 conferences. And at those conferences, we were taught and discussed what student success principles were and brought that back to Long Beach City College. Then the state legislature got involved in this, and SB 1426 was the legislation authored by our own Alan Lowenthal, who was in the state senate at that time, who said, this is what we're going to be focusing on in community colleges. We helped prepare that legislation. At the same time, there was a task force on the future of community colleges, which we were involved in, which was a 2-year process, and that helped inform the student success agenda throughout the state, and it's been what we've been pursuing ever since. I think if somebody said 5 years ago that we would talk about student success as much as we are now and focus ourselves on culture of evidence, making sure that our students are doing well. Doing well doesn't mean attending classes. It means moving forward. It means going in the direction of completing and moving on to achieve their educational goals. But what we've accomplished during this 6-year period of time is extraordinary. And so what we're pledging to you that we will do as a board from here on out in conjunction with this action plan, which we've agreed to implement, is to make student success an agenda item every time there is a board meeting. And as Alejandro said, then specifically work towards developing a better understanding among board members on what it means to be successful. We'll do professional development for the board. We'll look at our scorecard and make sure we're getting results out of that scorecard and talk to you about it. And we'll focus on the things that the trustees and the administration and the faculty here have said are the things that will highlight student success for this community college district. So we wanted to report on what we had done publicly. We wanted to say that this is the Government Institute for Student Success, which we went to, was the fourth one that was held in California. The first one was held at Long Beach City College. It involved the ACCT, which is the National Trustee Association. And we are considered a leader in that Government Institute of Student Success program. And this was just another chapter in that. And it comes appropriately in these presentations that we've had tonight that talk about the relationship between student success and student services, how important it is for there to be follow-up. And in particular, we highlighted tonight with the student success with the help of our Vice President for Student Services, Greg Peterson, and we talked about math. And math, as we all know, is, as it was described tonight, kind of a killing field for a lot of students. And you can see the remarkable progress we're making in that area. We're not done. We're barely beginning. But the work we've seen tonight highlighted shows that we're really making progress, and we continue to do that. And the trustees are going to continue to do that by emphasizing student success and our relationship to it. As you know, the first goal of the Board of Trustees is student success. So that's that, and now we can move on to our...
Can I just add
sure.
one more thing? I think what, for me, what I walked away with, and what I think it's important, and this is what was shared, that if we're going to close the achievement gap, and if we're going to move the needle forward in student success, then as a board, we cannot be afraid of setting those benchmarks for success. And that means that we need to begin that dialogue to talk about what are those benchmarks going to be, and not be afraid to set that bar, because otherwise we're not going to move the needle forward. So I think that's something that as a board we need to begin to discuss. What are the benchmarks for student success? So it's important.
Okay, we are moving on to agenda item 4.1. This is a topical area under the Board of Trustees. It is 4.1 is governing board election calendar. The election is scheduled for April 12, 2016. And can we have a quick report on this? No.
Nope, no report. The calendar is very much self-explanatory.
Okay, good. Just in essence, candidates must file statements by January 15th unless an incumbent decides on the last day that he or she is not running, in which case the deadline is extended by 5 days. And the election would be, as I said, on the 12th of April of 2016. The offices that are open are districts 2 and 4. So there is a calendar that is presented in the packets here and was made available. Entertain a motion to approve.
It's not an action item, it's an information.
I'm sorry. It's informational. Okay. Then 4.2, a resolution governing for the governing board member election for April 12, 2016. This is an action item.
So moved.
Motion.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Kellogg, seconded by Trustee Baxter. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote, please.
Irma Archuleta.
Aye.
Virginia Baxter.
Aye.
Jeff Kellogg.
Aye.
Doug Otto.
Aye.
And Sunny Zia.
Aye.
Agenda item 4.3, this is also a resolution, therefore an action item regarding candidate statements regarding the governing board member election for April 12 of 2016.
So moved.
Trustee Zia, seconded by Trustee Archuleta. Any discussion?
Doug?
Yes.
I'm obviously in favor of the resolution. I just have a question, really not even a question, just for consideration in the future. And I know it's very awkward when you have, in the particular case, when you have two of the individuals sitting here, their districts are up for re-election, and therefore I feel a little bit more willing to speak because I don't have someone who can sit there and say, well, it's just self-serving because your election is coming up. Mine is not. My election was previously as well as Trustee Baxter and Trustee Zia. But in this resolution, and just for future consideration, as we look at this, and I know there's reasons behind it, but this restricts this as far as the number of words in a ballot, when you make your ballot statement. We are in here, and we always have, we can go from 200 to 400. We've always kept it at 200. So we all go through the famous scenario of eliminating commas, thes, us, adding different words. And I don't know when is an appropriate time for a governing board when you're dealing with an election that you have an impact on and you're involved with. But I somewhere that how we could do it or review the issue of the language, the number of words that go in a ballot statement. Sometimes that is the only thing a person will read. We've all read them. Sometimes people will discount and say they're not valuable. I disagree. I think they're very valuable. They're in a ballot statement book that goes to the voters. So just in the future, when there's that window of an opportunity where we can look at this in a realistic manner about why we restrict it to 200 words for future ballot statements. And then the question, and only because for me personally, coming where I was on the Long Beach City Council, and for the Long Beach City Council and large districts, we never paid to be on a ballot. We went out and got 40 registered voters. And in this case, and the other reason I bring it up is that every one of the districts sitting here, the 5 districts, it is based on a calculation of voters, and therefore, in this case, you have Trustee Zia at one end of paying because of the number of the voters, all the way over to Trustee Baxter, who pays the most to state this. And I've always felt that was somewhat unfair. I don't know why, beyond, well, it's budgetary. I have heard some old former incumbents sit there and say, well, that makes it tougher for people to raise money.